People, McLeod, is that what we are? Are we really still people? Are we supposed to care about them, care about anything?
Well, tell me what else there is if we don't.
Take a look at me and see for yourself.
So you don't care about anything?
I'm right here, man. Search me.
What happened to you? Huh?
Life happened to me, my friend. Eternal life, to be exact.
All right, welcome to Highlander Rewatched, where we look at each and every episode of Highlander and talk about it in detail and explore the vast Highlander universe. I am one of your rewatchers. I'm Eamon.
I'm Keith.
And this is Kyle.
And today we are talking about what episode, Keith?
This is Season 2, Episode 2, Studies in Light.
Very good.
So we're very excited to talk
Meetings
about
within meetings.
Yeah. So this episode was originally aired October 4th, 1993, a Monday. So they're sticking with that Monday schedule, it looks like.
So Garfield didn't see this one either.
I guess not. This episode was directed by Peter Ellis. He's done some Silk Stockings.
Yeah.
And this is the first of 6 Highlander episodes he's done. He did one Raven episode, too.
Oh.
More recently, he did some episodes like Supernatural. He did Smallville.
Smallville.
Which I'm a
Nice.
huge fan of.
I think he did Lois and Clark, too, an
Ooh.
episode. Yeah.
Interesting. If you're
Double
into
Superman.
if you're into
That's
Smallville and you're into Rewatchers, check out the season 7 DVD, and you will see myself and Kyle on the DVD extras
Of Smallville, we're talking
of
here.
Smallville. Yeah.
Wait, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we don't say anything.
We don't say anything. Our footage got cut, but we are eating hamburgers at a diner.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Our very good friend won the Ultimate Smallville Fan Competition, actually with Keith's help editing his user submission to be the Ultimate Smallville Fan. So a crew came out and filmed a little thing with our friend, and we were in the background of some of the shots.
Well, we were filmed for we were there for 8 hours that day for filming, and they ended up using none of the footage we did. We were
Wow.
interviewed. We did all sorts of stuff. But,
It didn't help that at the diner, the server was really like mugging to be in the camera. It was kind of cartoonish, actually. But
That's pretty cool.
That's a little Highlander rewatched Easter egg for all you Smallville fans.
yeah.
Season 7. So anyway, the writer of this episode of Highlander is Naomi Jensen. She wrote 2 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
One episode called The Tale of the Frozen Ghost, and another episode called The Tale of the Lonely Ghost.
That's amazing.
What's a frozen ghost?
I don't know.
Imagine the ghost of a man or a woman who froze to death.
Oh,
Or maybe a cat.
I don't know. Is ice kind of the ghost of water? It's like its former self?
yeah, that's what it is.
I don't know.
No, that's vapor.
Okay. Well,
I love vaping.
this is the first of 3 episodes she did, and she also did a bunch of Forever Night episodes, which keeps popping up. So.
Yeah.
This episode has 2 guest stars. J.H. Wyman as Greg or Gregor Powers. This guy doesn't do too much acting anymore, but he's more known as like a writer and producer now. He's written for like Almost Human, Fringe, a couple other like big shows that he was a writer and executive producer on, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And also Dwight McPhee as Jack Spice. What the fuck is that character? Sorry, scratch.
Is this the wrong episode?
No, I think I just wrote down another person. that was-
Jack Spice.
What are you talking about?
You see the Lost Spice Girl?
I don't know who that
Jack
person is.
Spice? Yeah.
Are you sure you're not thinking of whoever plays the artist?
No.
What the hell are you
I don't know what I wrote. Jack Spice. I don't know who that person is.
All right. So it turns out there's only one guest star this episode.
Yes, I guess so.
What about the lady?
I didn't write her down.
I had it in my notes that I forgot at home.
Anyway, so the IMDb episode description for Studies in Light. Duncan, Tessa, and Richie attend a photographic exhibit featuring immortal Gregor, and Duncan discovers that the other exhibitor is someone he loved decades earlier, who has sent him away in order to focus on her work. She recognizes him, but he doesn't know how to tell her that he's the same man she loved. Meanwhile, Gregor appears to have changed since Duncan knew him, as he appears to have become a disillusioned and can no longer feel emotion.
Jesus.
That's it.
Those descriptions are so long. They're so long.
I know.
So we open with the sound of a camera, and as Gregor is a shutterbug, well, I guess we don't know that yet, but two men are on motorcycles, one's taking some pictures.
These guys are so 90s looking, and they both have looks on their face, especially Gregor's friend. Like, they're just smelling farts. Either that or, like, maybe the sun's in their eye. I don't know. They've got, like, this scrunched up, fart-smelling look on their face.
Yeah. Maybe Gregor's taking pictures to mask the sounds of his farts.
That's it.
That is it. But they're looking at this kind of floating pier kind of thing, and they're concocting a plan to launch onto it from the dock that their motorcycles are set up on. Like they're like dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes, yeah. So Gregor goes first, and he launches over this like ramp, and he makes it onto this dock. And so, ta-da, he did it.
Yay.
So now it's time for his friend. I forget his name, but it's time for him to go.
It's irrelevant. Is it Jack Spicer?
The missing Spice Girl.
But he does it and blows it.
Yeah,
big time.
he tanks, he falls in the water, his bike falls in the water, and apparently he can't swim.
Yeah, like at all.
Risky maneuver for this guy.
And then, so as he's drowning...
Gregor's being a total creeper about it.
Yeah. He's like, do we want to play this?
Yeah, we can play this clip.
Yeah.
Are you afraid? I'm gonna drown! Are you? What's it feel like? Great!
Does he say great or Greg?
I hope Greg. Great!
Tell me, do you feel it in your gut?
He's underwater. He can't hear you.
Yeah.
Tell me,
This is weird.
what's it like to die?
Point. It's really weird.
Yeah.
He's like doing an Andrew Dice Clay bit as this guy's like drowning or something.
So eventually, Greg helps.
He helps him out.
This
He
guy
pulls him
out
out.
of the water.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you little buddy, I wasn't going to let you get hurt.
Yeah.
And this guy's pissed.
Of course, because he almost drowned.
Yep.
Because he didn't learn how to swim when he was a child.
Nope.
Then we cut to Mac, Richie, and Tess.
Yep.
Walking to an art show, we find out. We've got to play this clip of what Richie says, because in true Richie fashion, it's amazing.
Yep.
This is one of his best clips. It's very good.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that we are turning down front row, standing room only tickets to this country's most souped up road monsters in the ultimate battle of motocross supremacy that I personally meet. Richie Ryan scalped at $50 a pop to look at some pictures.
Look at some
This very
pictures.
souped up road monsters.
Also,
And
Go
it's
to Monster
This country's
Jam.
premiere.
but is it's standing room only at like a BMX rally?
No.
I think
I'm
these
just
are
gonna go and
monster
say
trucks, right?
No.
What is this?
He says it's motocross.
Oh, I thought he said, okay.
Souped up monsters, but like
Souped up road monsters.
yeah.
Oh, I just, when he said monsters, I think I went to monster trucks.
You're expecting Truckosaurus
Truckers,
Rex?
yeah, I expected like a
But
Jurassic
it's not standing,
period.
It's not standing room, like right.
When they show it, it doesn't look standing room.
Yeah.
It looks kind of empty.
And are the best seats at one of those things really standing room only? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Write us, people.
Yeah.
Let us know what tickets we need to be buying. What tickets we need to be scalping.
Yeah. 'Cause
get
where,
a-
where else can we find the most souped up road monsters?
Ugh. Richie.
That's actually our nickname for Eamon most of the time.
A souped up road monster. I do love soup. I like a nice tomato soup with a grilled cheese. It's very good.
That does sound good.
Souped up.
It just started snowing here in Philadelphia today, so that sounds like it would hit the spot. That's been your Highlander Rewatched Weather Report.
That's right. Tune in every week.
Interesting.
So they go in there, and it turns out Mac knows Gregor, and Gregor invited him to his photography show.
Right.
And all of Gregor's artwork is like really dark. It's
Yeah.
a lot of like violent imagery and like gang members and people wielding knives.
Yeah.
Tess is instantly disgusted by this.
Yeah.
Like, she goes in and she's like, this is all very violent.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, hold on, Tess, like, you're an artist.
Yeah.
One, like, you must, I would hope, understand that, like, art falls on some spectrum of, like, what it's trying to convey. But she's utterly disgusted by this because it's so violent. All I will say is this. Tess, your amorphous silver blobs have made me violently ill. I hate them so much. So you and Gregor are even.
Also, your boyfriend cuts guys' heads off.
Yeah.
So, in the spectrum of violence, like a gang member with a knife isn't that bad.
Also, I'm pretty sure like a lot of the pictures are taken of the extras that were in the previous episode in the punk club. Like, I'm pretty sure the guy with the knife is the guy Mac beats up.
That's an amazing observation.
I hope that's accurate.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And some of his photographs reminded me of Ouija. Do you know him? He's a photographer.
The man with the guy with the board?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm well familiar with this board.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like
The Ouija board.
The Ouija board. That's right. Yeah, that's a joke.
That was a joke.
What? I'm like, who's the artist known as Ouija?
But it's actually Waluigi.
Ouija was a photographer in the 40s who would take pictures of like gruesome murder scenes and things like that.
Ooh,
And
like
he-
Road to Perdition.
That's right. That's who that Road to Perdition guy is based on Ouija. Anyway, look Ouija up. He's worth your time.
Interesting. So Duncan gets the buzz, and his friend Greg, a.k.a. David Blaine, shows up.
Yeah. And he's the guy on the motorcycle
Right.
that watched his friend drown.
So Duncan is not into this guy's art, like, either. He's like, this is really dark. Like, nobody appreciates this at all.
Yeah.
I frankly had, like, a little bit of an issue with that. I was like, why does everyone hate on this art? Like, just because someone takes pictures of, like, violent images doesn't mean it's, like, bad. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Well, it's unclear. Also, it's like not a real artist, so it's harder to weigh in on it.
Yeah, because most of his pictures also look like he's on the set of West Side Story, and people are pretending to be in a gang.
Yeah, so that's part of it.
Maybe Duncan is just trying to let him off easy, and he's like, "Oh, this is really violent. It's not into
really,
it.
It's not really my thing.
Yeah.
Not, instead of being like, psst,
This is awful."
I'm into real violence.
which he is.
Yeah.
Then Richie calls Mac over because one of the photos is actually of Duncan.
Right.
As he's bursting out of a burning building, like saving a child.
Yeah, snap a Mac.
Snap.
Snap attack
That's right.
of Mac.
Snap attack at Mac.
So there's an awesome. This is one of the best dissolves I think they've done into a flashback. Like
This is a little easy though.
I guess so, but I think
It's literally
really
a
great.
picture, and then they to get to dissolve into
But
the
I think
subject
it
matter.
works
because
because it's not like forced, because that's part of the storyline is that like it's about a photographer. So they just like the picture comes to life essentially, and
I agree, it was very seamless. But
No,
also,
I think it was really great.
It's very rare for them to have this kind of like direct
Yeah.
parody.
We should also mention it's revealed that Gregor did not take this picture.
So we get this flashback to Seacouver in 1938, and Duncan rescues a little boy named Tommy from a fire.
This entire like. They show a lot of this rescuing sequence of...
That's not important at all.
Yeah, it's like really not relevant to the story, but like he finds the kid and he's like... The kid is like clutching some toy. He's like, here, can I have this? And he just like throws it away. he's like, hey, I hope you're okay with this being incinerated because it's not coming. And then he goes to carry him out, and there was one other thing I thought was really funny about this sequence. There's just like... They very clearly established that there's like burning debris on the ground, and Duncan sees it and is trying to step over it, and then just trips. And it's like in like a very like kind of way. It's kind of funny.
That is funny.
But he manages to make it out, and as he bursts from the building, a young photographer just snaps some photos of him.
Right. So let's play this clip of Duncan talking to the photographer. We find out that her name is Linda, and she likes taking, I guess, scandalous photos of people in pain, divorces, Hollywood stuff. Like, so let's play this clip and find out how Duncan has changed her life.
It's what people want to see.
Because that's all you show them.
Oh, maybe I should try and sell the editor pictures of flower vases, kittens playing, freshly baked pies.
Your camera sees what you want it to see. You can shoot hope or despair, garbage or flowers. It all depends on where you want to spend your life.
What a know-it-all.
Yeah, Duncan's being really smug, and his the follow-up to this is crazy. Her response is, how come you know so much?
And he goes, how come you don't?
Yeah.
What?
And he's like so smug about it. She's like, how come you know so much? It's like, what does he know? He just like chided you like a schoolgirl, and you're
Yeah.
like, how come you know so much? I don't know. I found this entire interaction off-putting, and I was not nuts about the performance of young Linda.
She kind of reminds me of the character in Hudsucker Proxy.
Jennifer Jason Leigh's
Yep.
character.
Yeah.
She's good, though, in
Like
that
a
movie.
spunky. Yeah, this person is not that good.
No. I do like when they flash back to this time period. Like, I feel like this is a good time period for them to flash back when they're in, like, those Seacouver episodes, like 30s, 40s. Like, I think it translates really well. The costuming is always good. They always have, like, a good car or something in the background. I don't know. I think it comes across pretty well.
I agree, and I think it's important because Seacouver is such an inherently less interesting location than the Paris shoots. So, like, anything that's a flashback in Paris is just going to de facto look pretty good.
Yeah.
Whereas here, like, they have to be kind of smart about how they present it because they need to sell it with more than just the location.
Totally.
So we find out this young lady's name is Linda Plagiar, which the whole time I just was like, Linda Plagiarism? Like, what is this about? But anyway, he then sees her as an old woman. She's in the gallery.
Yeah, so she's splitting this exhibition with Gregor, and she's the reason he's involved, although they never really explore that. They say the exhibition's really for her, but the connection's never made as to how these two know each other, or maybe they're just two Seacouveran photographers.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
But
because she's like a big deal, and maybe he's not. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
why he's the second billing or whatever on this. But.
yeah, so they're like, oh, you know Linda Plagiar? And Duncan's like, yeah. And Gregor's like, she's a really big deal. This shows hers, and blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, she stumbles up. And she has a nurse with her?
I couldn't tell if it was like her nurse or maybe her daughter.
Wasn't her daughter.
It's not her daughter, but I
Yeah.
got the impression it was like that it was like a friend
Or
or
assistant or something.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure she says she never married or had kids later in the episode.
This
Okay.
entire interaction is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, this woman she sees Duncan and recognizes him immediately.
Yeah.
And she's just, like, losing it a little
Yeah.
bit, which is understandable because you just saw someone you haven't seen in, what was this? This was supposed to be the 30s, so in 50
Right.
years. And you get the impression they used to have, like, a romantic thing going on. But the nurse is like, oh, no, it can't be. This is obviously a
Yeah.
young man. It can't be.
And
It
she's-
can't be Duncan MacLeod.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, it's probably your medication, or like she's kind of like treating her like she's senile, which she might be. I don't know. But she's not in this instance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a little heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And this is a good angle, I think, for the show to take, though. Like, we've never met one of Duncan's mortal loves before. Like,
Right.
we've met, like, Amanda, and that's about
Grace.
And
Grace.
Yeah, Grace. But yeah, this is an interesting kind of ripple in that storyline.
Yeah. And
Which
then,
is
like,
cool.
Tessa looks pretty mortified about the whole thing. And it's great.
Because, yeah, I guess... I wish they explored Tessa's involvement in this a little more, because she could kind of see herself in Linda, I think, more. Especially because they're both artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this would have been a good storyline. Like, we saw in the first season, what was it, Eyewitness? Where they tried to draw some weird parallel between Tess and that woman who...
No, the artist.
And that weird
Yeah.
artist. Your art is life. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
This is hotel art or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But they
Bacon-
tried to draw some
bacon and
parallel
flight.
with those two, and it's like, this is the character
Yeah.
that character should have been. Like,
Tess-
we could have explored this dynamic more, but whatever.
Yeah, Tess just kind of disappears after a certain point in this
Yeah.
episode.
So after this scene, we're outside at a motocross track or something. Like, where did they go? Or did they, end
went
up
to
going?
They
yeah.
go to that show.
I thought they were not going to that because
No, they were just going to miss the beginning.
oh, they were going to miss the beginning.
Right.
Well, too bad for Richie, but
Yep.
they're there. And Greg is with them, and he asked Tess some weird, creepy questions about growing old and having Duncan leave her.
Yeah.
It's a little harsh.
It is. It's very harsh. So, like, here's our first inkling that, well, I guess our second inkling that something's a little wrong with Gregor.
This is our third inkling. Our second inkling is the shades he's wearing.
Yeah.
He's wearing, like, these round blue shades.
Yeah.
They're infuriating.
Do you know those like shades that have the skulls in them, like the holographic skulls in them? I was half expecting
yeah.
them to see, like, he got these at Spencer's Gifts.
I just kept picturing Dr. Jacoby from Twin Peaks when I see these glasses. They're punchable.
And then Richie interrupts, of course, this like
Hot
awkward
dogs
hot
for
dogs for
everyone.
everybody.
I actually really like this interaction between the two of them because, like, Gregor, it's kind of a callback to him asking all these kind of creepy questions when his friend is, like, almost drowning. Like, how does it feel? What's it like?
Do you want to play it?
Yeah, I think this is cool.
What's up?
Must be hard knowing that you'll keep getting older in the cloud. I mean, tell me, how do you handle knowing that one day he's gonna watch you grow old, wrinkle, and then die, and eventually move on to somebody else?
Were you born sensitive or did you have to study?
Hey, come on, I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just curious, that's all.
Hot dogs for everybody. Have a dog, Tess. Enjoy a dog. It's
I think
on
I'm
me.
going home. I'll see you later, okay?
She didn't even take the hot dog.
She takes it and then gives it right
well,
back.
she's a woman, you know what I mean, Richie?
I don't know what you mean, Gregor. Explain it to me.
Oh, boy.
You know what I mean, Richie?
She's a beautiful, you're very pretty, Tess.
You're pretty, Brenda.
More mustard for your hot dog.
So Gregor's kind of a creep.
He's a weird dude.
See, I kind of like the idea of... So the theme that's kind of played out here is that Gregor's kind of... immortality has kind of killed Gregor emotionally. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of interesting because he's got almost this weird, like, mad scientist kind of feel to him where he just, like, pokes and prods people to, like, watch them squirm and kind of absorb their emotional experience by making them as, like, putting them in extreme discomfort. Seems to kind of be his shtick. And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he has
Definitely.
like a morbid curiosity.
So after this, we're back at the gallery, and Linda is not feeling well, and she collapses, and I guess is getting taken to the hospital. So we know she is not doing well, and we find out from Greg that she's dying. So
Yeah.
So then we're back on the dock, and Greg and Richie are palling around, and I thought there's an interesting bit of dialogue here. I guess maybe we can start wondering about some stuff that's being said. So Richie's asking, like, how Mac has changed in, like, 200 years. And Greg's like, well, how have you changed? Like, you know, just imagine that. He's like, well, I don't grow old. And then Greg asks him, he's like, well, what happens if you were immortal? And Richie's like, I don't know. And it's like, I wonder what that dialogue means. I wonder if any seeds are being planted by these sort of lines.
Interesting.
We'll find out soon.
Uh-oh.
But this old exchange is interesting. I really like what this character represents. And it kind of speaks to some of what we were talking about during the movie and some of the original ideas for Highlander about, like, kind of being sick of life and, like, exhausted. And that's really what Gregor is putting forward here. You know, and he has this really kind of upsetting line of, like, you know, talking about the women he'd get to know and then have to bury.
Right.
Yeah.
So Duncan then is visiting Linda in the hospital, and we get a flashback to 1939, Seacouver, at, like, Linda's place. I guess they've been lovers now, and she's breaking up with Mac.
So she can pursue her work because she feels she can't juggle Mac and her career.
This whole exchange is very confusing because she's like, oh, like, I can't juggle you both. And Mac's like, why not? Sure, you can. And then she goes, she says out loud, I hope I'm not making the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah.
And then, but Mac is still in the room.
Right.
Yeah. So then she runs after him. It's like, oh, wait, don't go. And Mac just goes, nah. And leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
Yeah, this is
what?
all very unearned, like, this whole breakup thing. Like, I don't really buy into this. They just, like, throw it at you. And it's like, and the relationship didn't work, so.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Mac was like, no, this works. You can do it. And then eventually she goes, you're right, I can do it. And Mac goes, you can't do it.
And then she's like,
weird.
I'm going to make you proud of me.
Flash forward, Duncan's like, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Right. But he's like pretending he's Duncan's grandson.
I guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
Duncan's like, no, you don't dump me, I dump you. No one dumps Duncan MacLeod or the Clan MacLeod. What you don't do is dump Duncan.
So Tess, after this, Mac's back at home with Tess. Mac's back. Tess is wondering why Mac didn't tell Linda that he's immortal and just kind of spill the beans. And
Right.
I think this is a really interesting thing that Duncan brings up. And he's like, what am I supposed to tell her? Tell her that, like, immortality exists, but, like, not for her. Like, and she has to die, like, but I get to live. And I was like, oh, that's a really, I don't know. This episode
it's
does
pretty
definitely,
unfair.
this episode definitely, like, tackles a lot of, like, good issues, like,
Yeah.
questions that are brought up. So I thought that was really great. But then they just start smooching, and Richie comes in and oogles them
Yeah.
up. As
He's
usual.
like, ooh.
Hubba. Richie.
Well, the other thing he says, which kind of cements his relationship with Tess, is like, I chose to tell you. Like,
Right.
I trust you enough where I told you and not this other lady.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was like interesting.
Yeah, that makes their relationship more special. So Richie goes to head off to hang out with Gregor at his studio. Tess like kind of warns him. She's like, "Oh, be careful," which is kind of weird. Like Tess has clearly got a feeling about Greg. And then Duncan picks up on this, and he's like, "Huh, what's this about?" He's like, "Did Greg make you feel uncomfortable?" Like, he's the one who posits that. He's like, "It's like this must happen all the time." Like Duncan's like, "Oh yeah, he does that. Like that's Greg."
It doesn't even pan out though. He's just like, "Oh, did he make you feel uncomfortable?" Cut.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, I guess.
So then we cut to Richie coming to the studio, and then a person we can't really see, but it's obviously Gregor, is just kind of hunting him on his dirt bike.
He like drives. It's this like big open studio space, and he just like barrels in.
Well, the thing that's weird is like he pulls up like into the doorway of the studio, and Richie's all of a sudden is like, "Oh shit!" and he just starts running. It's like nothing happened. Like somebody pulled up into the door, and you just like are like, "Oh no!"
That's really weird, though. I don't know that "oh no" is necessarily the right response, but some amount of alarm is appropriate.
I'd probably be alarmed, but I don't know if I'd run away.
I think I'd be like, "Greg?" And then like have some other questions after that. But so they run all over the place.
Yeah. Then Greg's like,
Relax, man. Hey, have a sense of humor.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Can you ride?"
And then Richie gets on the bike and does the dinkiest little lap around this space, and he's just like, "I don't know, can I?"
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, no, not really.
It's like, I don't know. You literally went 5 feet. Like, what?
So they decide to have another jumping contest. So they're outside, and they're going to attempt to make this jump again.
And this time they do it together at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
They've got mutual launch pads to launch onto this little pier.
That's right.
So
Launchpad McQuack.
So they launch. They launch off. Both of them make it, except Richie like overshoots his mark.
He can't stop in time.
Yeah, and he ends up like driving into some like empty boxes or whatever.
And just gets a really brutal looking cut on his arm.
He does get a really bad cut, but Richie's all pissed about it. He's like, "Oh, I could have killed myself." And then there's another interesting bit of dialogue where Greg says, "I wouldn't let you do it if it wasn't dangerous." And I was like, "Oh, because maybe does Greg know this isn't dangerous?"
Oh. Huh.
But he let the other guy do it, and that guy wasn't immortal.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit about that guy. I don't know. All right, maybe not.
He's like, "I don't want Mac to think I'm abusing his best little buddy." He says something like really condescending or something.
But Richie's so angry at him. It's like, you didn't have to do this.
Yeah.
You chose to do this like daredevil stunt after he chased you through like a studio.
And in the episode with, the Indian, that episode, Richie's flying all over the place with his bike. Like, he doesn't care that he's crashing all the time. Like, this is not new for Richie.
Yeah. Right. He's a guy, you just need some stitches. It's like, yeah, damn right you need some stitches. You've got like mottled, torn up flesh.
Yeah, and a tetanus shot, hopefully.
Yeah.
So Richie and Greg return back to the antique store. Mac is none too happy about all this and has a little convo with Greg outside, which we played at the top of the show here.
Right. This whole thing is awesome.
Yeah.
I really like the dialogue that's exchanged here. I really like the line, "People, is that what we are?" Because that kind of really drives home the part of the issue that like eternal life is just inherently dehumanizing.
Yeah,
like,
they have a fundamentally different experience than people do.
Right, and all the moments that make human life worth living are in some way defined by reference to the end of your life.
Philosophical stuff. So we get a flashback to the Washington Territory in 1883, and it's a cholera outbreak.
And Gregor is a doctor.
Dr. Greg. Paging Dr. Greg.
Paging Dr. Launchpad McQuack. So yeah, he is treating a child who unfortunately expires. Mac is there with him in this kind of like westerny place, and then this angry dad shows up.
Where's my boy? Where's my boy, Gregor?
He's like, he wasn't that sick when he came here. You killed him. It's
it's bizarre.
He ramps up from like 1 to 11 just instantly.
Yep. So he shoots Gregor.
Yep.
So that's done. Also, can we talk about Mac's accent in this scene?
It's all over the place.
I have no idea what it is.
It kind of starts out like this, but then it goes back to normal.
It goes back to normal, and at some point it's more Scottish.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
I mean, I don't know. A lot is being asked of Mr. Paul in this series, so cut him some slack, but it's a little crazy.
He's like, "Aye, laddie, it's your old friend Duncan MacLeod of the Clan Meat Road." It's like, what planet are we on?
It's very strange.
So
Beep beep, rivy rivy.
Greg is dead.
Yep.
And so Duncan, I guess, throws him in the back of a wagon and takes him out of town.
Yeah, and he just lets the murderer, leave?
Yeah.
I guess so he can save Greg from being discovered as an immortal, but it's just like, you're going to let this murderer go?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Greg wakes up and he's like, "Oh, what happened?" And he's like, "Well, you got to leave town." And Greg's like pissed at the dude.
Yeah.
Who shot him, and Duncan's like, whatever, let it go. It's like, hold on, if Greg was not immortal, this is a crazy person, granted, who's emotionally upset that his son died, but shot an innocent person. This guy needs to be
held accountable.
For that.
Where's my boy, Greg?
Straight to shooting. And this is another cool interaction, because Duncan's being pretty matter-of-fact about this. Mm-hmm. He's just like, yeah, you gotta move on, this will be this. And Gregor's really upset about this. He's like, I don't know if I can keep, just reinventing myself. And, keep doing this over and over again.
It's gotta be tough. Got to be tough.
My next note is just, how does Tess find these outfits? It cuts to this weird... She's wearing this all-white number that has, a jacket, this big jacket over top that's, tasseled together. I don't even know. Her outfits in this show go from being reasonably classy to utterly insane.
Yep.
Well, I have another note about Tess in this scene. So we come back out of the past, and Tess and Duncan are talking about, I guess, this instance. And Duncan's like, "Oh, he's lost and he's unhappy." And then Tess sarcastically says, "Sounds like he needs therapy." And it's like, Tess, you have been living with an immortal for how many years now? You've been seeing these adventures play out essentially week to week, and you have again no sympathy. This reminded me of what was his name, Ursa, in The Beast Below, where she's like, "What's his problem? Why is he mentally ill? I don't get it." And then again, she has just heard a story about how Gregor was a doctor witnessing death take place all around him, and he's lost and unhappy. She's like, "Oh, what's the deal with him? I don't get it." It's you're 32 years old, Tess. Chill out. He's 500 years old. I don't know. Tess never seems to be understanding. I don't know. For me, this is a pitfall of a lot of female characters in TV. You can even see it for a period in Breaking Bad. What was his wife's name?
I never watched it.
Oh man, I'm forgetting now. Mrs. Breaking Bad. A lot of times, because they're supposed to be a foil to the main character's actions, they just end up being naysayers all the time. And so a lot of times in TV or movies, you can end up with female characters, which are supposed to be the counterpart to the maybe the male protagonist, but they end up just being a negative force. They're always negating whatever Duncan's saying. I want to just, no, you shouldn't do this, because they're always the point of conflict. So it can end up inadvertently painting female characters as kind of naysayers or kind of naggy or something like this. I think it's an unintentional byproduct of that sort of writing style. But I think that's kind of what happens here with Tess. She ends up coming across as a little unsympathetic to this character that is going through some stuff. Only because...
And was also a huge asshole to her.
That's also true. That's true.
And then the other side of it is, I didn't read her reading of that as being that sarcastic. Because also, Duncan responds to her very seriously. He does not respond to her as though she's being that she's just having a dig. He's like, no, he can't go get therapy, because if he went and got therapy, he'd get locked up.
Yeah.
They would think he's a crazy person.
Right.
And that's an interesting point for just the mental health of immortals.
Yeah.
I was like, what if there was an immortal psychologist? That might be kind of cool. Or a psychiatrist.
Ho ho, dear readers.
Ho ho.
I do like this line they're telling, though, this is maybe the first immortal character we've met that is not the villain of the episode.
Sort of.
He's the villain of the episode. I'm sorry, he's not a bad guy.
Right.
Like, I never for a second I'm like, oh, he's evil, like, or something. Like, we I think this is our first, like, really gray character where it's like, I don't know how to feel about his actions. Like, he definitely was motivated by some bad stuff. He's definitely done some bad stuff, but is he a bad person? Like, you know what I mean? I feel like this is an interesting path the show is going on.
I'm trying to think of who else there might be. Maybe Ursa.
Yeah,
Though
maybe.
Ursa definitely.
He murders Mr. Manager for no reason.
Yeah,
so
he
he's
does.
out.
I love that we still call him Mr. Manager.
Are we supposed to not? Are we abandoning that joke?
Nope.
Never.
I love that joke. I think about that joke often. That's a weird thing to say. Anyway, yeah, I think Ursa falls into that category. I think he's the only one.
Probably.
Like, all of his other pals have been kind of nefarious in their own way.
Yeah, Batone's a murderer.
Yep. Road Not Taken. What was his name?
Suntek. Oh,
Yes, that's the actor's name.
the actor's name.
But
Kim
he's-
Sum.
Kim Sum.
He's like grayish. But
He was grayish.
He's kind of on the wrong side of that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Being, a slaver.
Right.
Yep.
By and large, the show definitely has a good versus evil sort of
Yeah.
vibe for it, going for it. So,
Hey, Rewatchers! Thanks for joining us on today's episode. If you haven't already, make sure you join us on Facebook, where you can follow the conversation and interact with other Highlander fans. While you're at it, give us that 5-star review on iTunes, baby!
anyway, we get back to Greg's studio, and there he is, David Blaine, looking at like a slideshow of his photographs and
Yeah.
like having like a freak out. This is like really cheesy.
And then the
Like,
music they're playing?
yeah, it's like weird emo,
Yeah.
like 90s. It's ridiculous.
Yep. And he's like...
He cuts up the screen
He's-
with a
yeah.
knife.
Well,
he's
he's
watching
he's
the slides
playing
and he
with a
has a
knife.
knife and he's like touching it to his face and it's all very like 9 Inch Nails or something. I don't know.
I just want to feel something.
Yeah. But so he's...
That is exactly what this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this episode definitely had like an after school special sort of vibe to it. Like,
But
It's
he's...
super 9 Inch Nails-y.
Yeah.
Oh, the pain's the only thing that's real
Yeah.
anymore.
So he like starts slashing up. He's like projecting his photos onto like screens, I guess, and he starts slashing them up. So he's having a breakdown.
And then he breaks into the gallery.
Yeah.
And destroys, at first, like, there's this weird shot where they, like, say, like, two old people kissing
Yeah.
next to, like, one of his weird, like, violent pieces. And
Yeah.
he's, like, choosing which one to destroy.
Yeah.
And he, like, destroys the happy art.
And he's like weirdly like turning and looking at all the pictures
Yeah.
and like holding his head like the voices or whatever. And like I did think it was kind of cool how he breaks into the museum. He like
With a
pulls up on
trash
his
can.
motorcycle and like walks up and then just picks up a trash can and like throws it through. And this place isn't alarmed.
I guess not. Also, we should talk about the location. This, to me, I think this is the Vancouver, like that science center.
The same one with the geodesic dome.
Yeah, this
from-
is just a close up
for the
shot
other
of that.
art episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is at the same location.
Eyewitness.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
Gregor ruins everything.
Yeah,
Thanks, Greg.
does he destroy all his work and Linda's
He says
work?
later, he's like, I destroyed everything.
and his negatives.
And his negatives. Yeah.
Right.
Negatives Nancy.
So then he also shows up at
The antique store.
the antique store where Richie is.
Right, and he's like, yo, you want to hang out? And then Greg comes in and just smashes a pot
Yep.
and has a freak out.
And, like, choke slams Richie.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Richie says, there's a good line. Richie's like, oh, do you want to hang out? And Greg's like, I think I've hung out for too long. Which I was like, ooh, dark.
Yeah.
So it seemed to me at this point that Greg has like a death wish or something.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that later when we have a confrontation.
Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson is killing hipsters.
In this confrontation with Richie, Greg says, is life worth living if you can't die?
And he pauses to Richie. Answer that, and you won the playoffs. And you don't want to win the playoffs.
So this is a really interesting question. And I was wondering, we've talked about maybe doing a question of the week.
Yeah.
And maybe should this be our first question of the week? So we're going to ask this question to you. And we're going to ask it on Facebook as well. So you can write your responses in, email them to us. And we'll read the best ones on air. But we're going to talk about it amongst ourselves maybe right now. What do you guys think of maybe this is maybe being the core question of this episode? Is life worth living if you can't die? This is
Yes.
almost the core question of like Highlander everything. But
I'm going to say yes. Because if you can't die, you have the potential to improve the lives of other people around you with hopefully your, advanced knowledge and experience. So I'd say yes.
What do you think, Kyle?
So I'm going to say yes in one sense, but with a certain qualifier that actually is another issue that's brought up when Gregor says, "Are we still people?" I agree that the answer in the kind of the meaningful sense is no. You're not human beings. Like, death is part of the human experience. Like, immortals are something else. They're playing at being people to a certain extent, because like a human life is defined by its ending, and I think that's critical to the entire story.
Yeah, I would say actually I think life is not worth living if you couldn't die. You should still live it. I know for me, like personally, if knowing this will end at some point makes the time I have here like more precious, which I think is an important thing that I guess could be lost on immortals, because it's like, well, why should I savor these moments above another? Like, I'll just keep getting more, or when I don't know when the last moment will be, you got to make each one count. That's our PSA, everybody.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, it's like even people who live a normal mortal lifespan, it's like kind of sad, but sometimes you do hear people just kind of conveying that they're just kind of tired of the entire thing, and that's after 70 years as opposed to 500 years. And that's got to be, I don't know, it definitely has to be hard to get up in the morning at a certain point, but
right. So everyone, put on your existential hats and write us this extremely dark and depressing question: is life worth living if you can't die? Food for thought. So we're back at the hospital.
So Richie lets slip that Mac is at the hospital visiting Linda, who is recovering or asleep or something.
Yeah. So Greg goes over there and he opens the door, and Mac is like hiding behind the door.
Like, did he get the sense? I don't understand why he's hiding.
I don't know.
I
either.
assume it's because he doesn't know who's coming. He knows an immortal's coming, but
so he's just hanging out there. So Greg comes in, and then is Greg gonna kill Linda?
Well, he like comes in and just walks right over to Linda. Like,
so like Mac like attacks him, like, hey, get over here, like get off of her.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know exactly what Greg's plan was, because I was like, why does he want to kill Linda?
Well, he goes to attack her after Mac stops him the first time.
Yeah.
He like does a weird like he's gonna hit her or something.
I think this entire thing is he's trying to bait Mac into killing him.
Yeah.
This is like a suicide.
That's what I thought this was too.
He's trying to get Mac into a position where he'll axe him.
Interesting. So they end up having a fight. It looks like Mac does not have a sword with him at all.
He's unarmed.
And Greg pulls out his sword. And I noticed this. I thought this was interesting. His sword is a Tizona del Cid sword. And why do I know that without even Wikipediaing it? Because our grandmother and grandfather actually had one of these swords hanging in their house. And I remember...
What does any of that mean?
The Tizona del Cid sword, and I did look this part up on Wikipedia. So it was the name of a sword carried by Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar el Cid, which was used to fight the Moors in Spain. According to the Cantar de Mio Cid, the name Tizona translates into burning stick. And it's from around 1020 AD.
Interesting.
So anyway, they had a replica of the sword that I think he got in Germany or something. But I remember being like a little kid and looking this up, like in the encyclopedia with my grandmother. Like, oh, what's this sword about? But that's the kind of sword he has.
Did you notice that there's an inscription on the blade of his sword?
There is.
Something in Spanish, I think.
I do not remember what that...
Is it Tizona del Cid?
It might be. Yeah, I think that's what this sword had.
Yeah.
On it.
But this is... The Pipe Man Rises.
Yeah. Well, the first...
So, how many times in Highlander do people fight with pipes? Like, there just needs to be a more original sword substitute. Like, somebody just...
There is a coat. Duncan's first attack.
Starts with the coat.
He starts with the coat. And it, of course, like,
it's super effective.
It's like, oh, no!
The coat is the ultimate Highlander weapon after the sword.
Yeah. The hierarchy of weapons is sword, jacket, pipe.
Yep.
So they end up fighting.
Jackets are first. It goes jacket.
Yeah, because the jacket always completely fumbles your opponent.
Yeah, the jacket has 100% success rate on this show.
So Duncan ends up. They fight all over the hospital. They end up on the roof. It kind of moves around. It's not a bad fight.
Duncan does some pretty cool moves with this pipe.
The fight goes through the hospital. It's an okay fight, I suppose.
Like up the stairs and
yeah.
So Mac is using. So we're calling it a pipe. This is like a massive bow staff with like a crook at the end of it.
Yeah.
He's like Shepherd Duncan.
It's like yeah. He's like Little Bo Peep.
Little Bo Duncan.
That's right. And he lost his peep, who is Gregor. He's one of his.
He's
peeps.
lost.
That's right. Yeah.
You
there
tried
go.
Hare Krishna?
So anyway, Duncan actually has an interesting theory why Greg wanted to fight, though, which is different than ours, because I agree with you, Kyle. Like, I thought this was like a death wish. He's just like, I'm going to start some shit, and Duncan will kill me, and it'll all be over. But Duncan posits that Greg wanted to take Duncan's head so he could feel again. Like, Duncan is a person capable of deep emotion, and if he got his quickening, that might fix him.
And Duncan posits this?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Does that mean that the quickening will enable him to feel again, or the act of killing his friend will, like, shock him into consciousness?
Not sure.
Yeah.
I wondered if it was the quickening would do it.
Yeah, well, that goes back to that thing with Grayson.
Yeah.
Hey.
So Duncan ends up getting, I guess, Greg to feel by almost taking his head.
Yeah, he fakes him out.
Yep, fakes
Yeah.
him out, just like Greg's been faking everybody else out.
He also fakes him out in the face with that pipe a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But I guess Greg finally felt the fear of death.
Yeah.
And that has kind of shocked him maybe out of it. Mm-hmm. So they end up walking away.
They're like, it's going to be all right.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. So this is
They never establish how they got to know each other, right?
No.
No.
Like, I like that surgeon moment. I thought that,
Yeah.
like, because I kept on expecting them to show a flashback with the two of them, and it just never quite came
Yeah.
until that one. But it's, deep into their relationship at that point.
Right.
So it's good. Duncan has two friends now that he hasn't killed.
Very good. Good job, Duncan.
Yeah.
Way to not kill this guy.
Yeah.
So after this, we're back in the hospital, and
Yep.
Duncan is essentially saying goodbye to the dying Linda, and he brought her a present.
Yeah, framed newspaper clipping, I guess.
Right.
That contains the very same photo of him saving that child from the burning building.
Right.
And then he tells Linda that he is the same Duncan MacLeod and he's immortal. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really explain it, but
He's like, I can't really tell you why now,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I'm proud of you, girl.
This is a really sweet scene, and
Can I say this about Adrian Paul's performance? To me, this is his best performance, like, ever
Yep.
up to this point.
I agree.
And I don't know
Yeah.
if he's
I
gonna
have the same note that
surpass
this
it.
is really good.
I was floored by how good he was in this scene. He has more emotion and it seems more real than the Darius death to me.
This is like a less is more kind of moment.
Yeah.
He's definitely had moments that are like more full of emotion than this one was, but I feel like they've worked against the overall package.
Yeah. So I want more of this. Like, he looks like, I don't know if he's channeling. Well, he's an actor, so but like
You see,
Acting!
he somehow see sometimes actors they
Yeah.
pretend to feel a certain way,
yeah.
and that's the secret world of acting.
Duncan's not really an immortal. He's just acting like one.
This whole thing is a pack of lies.
But yeah, he did really good
Yeah.
at this part. I mean, they both do. This is a great scene.
this is a really good scene.
Yeah.
I buy into all this stuff, and again, I think this story, like this relationship, is a really interesting thing to explore, especially in a action adventure show. Like,
Yeah.
this is like deep territory, and it's heartbreaking and something you don't see either. Like
No.
in any sort of mainstream media,
Yeah.
like a virile young lover or
That's
whatever, like loving an elderly woman.
Yeah.
So I think it's got a lot of good stuff going on.
It's got some
yeah.
serious heart.
Yeah.
It does.
And then I assume it looked like she dies, like,
Yes.
kind of in his arms at the
Yeah.
end.
So I guess he can take that present back.
Oh, yikes! And then oh, I like that as a
Instead of saying yikes, we
yikes,
say
zeist.
That's what we're
I
gonna,
do like that.
That's what we're going
boy.
to be saying a lot of in the next movie.
So that's it.
So this episode really made me think of like an episode of Star Trek, because there's a lot of overt philosophical discussion.
Yeah,
Like, it's not even buried. Things aren't analogies. People are just literally discussing the nature of life and death a lot in a way that does, as you said, often doesn't happen in action adventure TV shows. That said, I wish some of this stuff was a little beneath the surface.
Yeah. There's just some goofiness, like
The
Gregor's-
shades.
Yeah, the shades. Gregor's freak out.
Yeah.
A little goofy, but
So wait, what do we decide Gregor's nickname is? Is he Launchpad McQuack or David Blaine? I just want to be consistent when we inevitably reference him in future episodes.
Launchpad McBlaine.
there you go. Launchpad McBlaine. McBain, my favorite Simpsons action hero.
Ooh. Yeah, I like this episode. I think it's okay. It has problems. It's hard to introduce characters like this that deal with like a lot of like heavy stuff without like they just introduce this character cold. So I think that's one reason that a lot of this stuff is like amplified. Like it's like really over the top because it's like, well, we got to like show that he's this way. Like,
yeah, we got 43 minutes. Let's do it.
And again, with like television being what it is today, this story arc might come about of a character that we've seen a bunch and that is reoccurring, and maybe we start to see every time we meet them, they deteriorate a little more, and we get to be on that journey with them. Yeah, who knows? But I don't think we ever meet Launchpad McBlain again. I think this is it. So we don't know what happened to him. Hopefully he pulled it together.
Hopefully.
I think he won the game.
Yeah, I bet that.
That's a spin-off novel.
As far as the Watcher Chronicles go, just a little bit on Gregor Powers. He was born in 1678 in Baden, Germany. His first death was in 1707. He was beaten to death and robbed while a medical student at 29 years old. And that's about kind of it. So, there's a couple funny, like, Watcher Chronicle things. We've often talked about, like, the writing style of these Watcher Chronicles. Duncan's Chronicle from 1939 with Linda Plager is pretty funny, I thought. Someday, I think McLeod will look back on this and see that Linda Plager was a very wise woman. I'm sure right now, however, he just knows he's been dumped. And that always hurts, whether you're 14 or 40 or 400. Is this person 14? Like, this is so crazy. It goes on about their relationship and, oh, I think she's making a mistake. It's like, this reads like a gossip column. And then the other thing that I thought was funny was Greg Powers' Chronicle. There's nothing kind of inherently interesting about, like, his Chronicle itself. It says he was a doctor, blah, blah, blah. But the author of his Chronicle was Hank Horton. And I was like, oh, did they do a nice job of putting maybe Horton's like great-great-grandfather in
Interesting.
this? I thought that was a neat little Easter egg.
H.H.
Absolutely.
Hank Horton.
So, guys, any final thoughts on this episode before we wrap it up?
This seemed like a real example of what David Abramowitz was talking about, where he said, like, it's a Talmudic discussion with ass kicking.
Yeah.
This really felt like it, because it was literally a discussion. It wasn't that, like, people represented certain things and the story played out. Literally, the two sides of the conversation sat down and had that conversation. And then they also fought with pipes and swords. So it's like a little bit clunky in that regard, but I really appreciate what this episode was trying to do. I think Gregor has an interesting voice that is that is interesting in the context of the Highlander universe. And all in all, I liked this episode.
He would be an interesting character to explore. Like, it would have been cool if he came back, like you mentioned before, Keith, and maybe we see him grow under Duncan's influence. But, yeah, I don't know.
Or the opposite. I kind of would have rather seen this guy deteriorate over time as opposed to in a 143-minute episode. And maybe this conflict then erupts after being teased for a while.
Yeah, you know what's also interesting that I'm just thinking about now is they set up that there's this parallel, but it doesn't kind of play out the same way. Like, Linda Plager is someone who photographs maybe pain or, you know, like she exploits people for her craft or for her, you know, for a paycheck or whatever through photography. And Duncan changes her life with essentially like 2 sentences or whatever. I guess they become lovers.
I there's more
right, but
going on there.
He teaches her that.
How do you know so much?
Yeah, he teaches her about like loving beauty and like hope and all that sort of stuff. And I never feel like we get that sort of lesson. Like, it's like, oh, how is Duncan gonna like change Greg in the same way he changed Linda? And he just kind of almost chops his head off at the end. Like, it's like a scared straight sort of thing. It's like, no, you're not going to be miserable. Like, I'll fucking kill you. Like, and that like snaps him out of it instead of like an actual, like, it should have actually taken place through that discussion. Like, Duncan should have made a really compelling case. And it could have actually happened in the midst of the sword fight. Like, if they just threw in some dialogue while they were fighting, it would be nice. That way it's not just like, philosophical discussion, sword fight, philosophical discussion, pipe fight, like, that it was kind of incorporated. But I wish Duncan had really kind of swayed Gregor to the side of good through, like, actually persuading him. Like, instead of just kind of making him, like, snap out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I do think it pays off well that he is, in fact, afraid to die, because he confronts Tessa about that. He overtly has that conversation with Richie on the wharf, like, are you afraid to die? Like, he confronts them about it, and he fancies himself as someone who doesn't fear death. But then when the chips are on the table, he does. And even for immortals, this, fear of the void is ongoing. I thought that was interesting.
All right, so check out A Study in Light. It'll be good. It'll be good. What am I talking about?
Was it good for you?
Absolutely. So make sure to join us next week for episode 3, The Turnabout. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you next week. I've been one of your rewatchers, Keith.
I'm Kyle.
This is Eamon.
Bye, 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 bye.
My name is Duncan, and I'm here to say, take pictures in a Highlander way.